Hey everybody, Simon here. It is March 1st, and today is the target release date for the Harmonia multiplayer demo. At least it would be. I guess it still is, but I am regretful to announce that it will be delayed by a week. So very, very sad. And the reason it's being delayed is because this last week, rather than doing a lot of playtesting and a lot of final tweaking and polish and all that good stuff, it was spent mostly just doing bug fixes. On Monday, everything was essentially done. There were a few very minor things to fix, but there were also some very major problems that arose that have been lying dormant, but in the new game mode, for whatever reason, suddenly they became very serious, and the server was crashing like literally every 2 or 5 minutes. Like, you could play 2 rounds of the game and then it would do some horrible, nasty crash, and that is unacceptable. So I've just been spending the last week just tracking down as many bugs as I can and fixing it, and everything seems to be pretty extremely unbelievably stable. As in, I had the server that everyone will be able to connect to. That's been running since 2 days ago, something like that. And last I checked, it had reached, with bots playing against each other, it had reached something like round 1038 before crashing. So I'm going to call that a win. If you play the game and you actually reach round 138, I think it's safe to say that you've played enough, and if it crashes at that point, I think that's pretty legit. So, yeah, there hasn't been that much playtesting, so I'm not really sure how fun it is, and I would like to increase the fun factor by at least 2, whatever that means. And in addition to that, there are a lot of little tweaks that need to be done, like some very minor bugs to the HUD, and there are some not so serious, but just kind of, I guess mostly annoying bugs that will take some fixing. I'd like it to be a pretty streamlined experience from the moment you install it to the 5 minutes after you install it when you say, hey, I'm not going to play this game. So the release date is now March 8th, and it should be a pretty good one, because at the moment everything is pretty fun, but I just want to give it that little extra push over the edge so I don't have to do any patches or whatever. And I can focus on stuff for next month. So, what can you expect in this new version? First and foremost, the multiplayer button that's been underneath the single player button and useless for a month now actually does stuff. There is a fancy new game selection window that basically loads different mods into the game. The game data files have been split up into, like, not just one gigantic here is your game folder, but they're split into like a bunch of base files and then some mods that you can run that are different game modes. And the battle arena that was released last month, that is one of the game modes and can now be played co-op, which is pretty fun. And at least I hope it's fun. This is new, so yet another thing that needs to be playtested. I played it against myself and that was pretty fun. Also kind of sad, but mostly fun. Yeah, so there is, in addition to battle arena, there is now the tower war mode, which was originally going to be a deathmatch mode, but that was just kind of vanilla and not that fun, so I wanted to crank it up a notch. So in addition to just slugging it out and beating up the other team, now there's really a goal in that you have to not only destroy the other team, but get to their tower and destroy their tower. And pretty straightforward game. But with the twist is every time somebody on your team dies, they respawn back at base, and they're a little weaker every time. I think they lose 1 level, which is minus 25% health, and the rules are all there when you start the game. But it ends up being that there's one major battle that you keep you keep adding reinforcements to, and as does the other team, and gradually it gets pushed back one way, and then one team has to go from offense to defense mode, and when you go into defense mode, then the other team starts suffering a bit more, blah blah blah. So it ends up it's pretty fun. It needs some more polishing though, so I'm going to be doing that in the next week. So there is also the other new big feature is a fancy new HUD, or at least monitors for your teams and your enemies' hit points and level and whatnot. So now you can actually see how strong your characters are, what class they are, who's in danger of dying, and give orders accordingly. There have been a lot of bug fixes just relating to orders that weren't getting removed when they should have been. So there were a lot of extra like paths and like little lines and little attack icons left on the map, most of those have been tracked down. I hope I aim at least to track down all of those by next month, so everything is pretty cool. Playing on the server, latency is really good. That makes me happy. I think the server is somewhere in Wisconsin and I'm in Germany, and it feels like I can play it without any problems, so I'm going to call that a win. So yeah, anyway, sorry about the delay. At the very least, there is a bunch of footage in the background that you can watch that demonstrate the new Tower War mode, which is pretty fun. And I'd like to reiterate that all of these little releases are not necessarily what the final game will be. I mean, they could be in the final game. There's no reason why they couldn't be. But all these little mini games are not to make mini games and have one big game with thousands of mini games, but they're all benchmarks for various systems in Harmonia. And this was to get the multiplayer experience nice and streamlined. Even if the game isn't fun, as long as everything is stable and as it works, then I'm going to call that a win. And also to add the HUD and to experiment with that and just kind of play around with some player versus player modes, which is very new. I haven't really tested that yet. Ultimately, all of this links into one gigantic game, which should be the multiplayer game that I guess I'm hesitant to use the term MMO because that's such a dangerous thing to say that I'm making a massive multiplayer online game, but on a smaller scale, that's essentially what this is, an adventure game that you can play online. So all of these will all tie into that game. So anyway, that's it for now, and sorry again, but I will get everything nice and spick and span for next week, and hope you enjoy it when it's finally released. See you later. Bye.